Hello, my name is John Sayer, Technical Marketing Manager, Civil Infrastructure here at Autodesk. Today I'd like to take you through part 6 of our VR Level 2 series that we've been running. We're still working with land development projects to VR, but today what we're going to talk about is how to specify specific locations to view in the experience. So when you look inside of your experience, there may be specific locations that you'd like to easily be able to get to without having to teleport to that specific location every single time. This will help with users of the VR or people that are trying to experience the VR that are not familiar with how the controls work specifically, and allows you to get to the specific location so that they can experience what you're trying to convey message-wise inside of your VR experience. So without further ado, let's get started. So again, we're back here in 3ds Max Interactive, and we're using, again, the same data set that we've been using inside of this entire series. And what we're going to do is we're going to create what's called just a primitive object inside of 3ds Max Interactive. We're just going to use a sphere. And we're going to use this sphere to enable us, when we're in the VR experience, to actually, for lack of better words, just zoom to a specific location or teleport to a specific location. From what I've been seeing, if you have folks that you're trying to get to experience your VR experiences, sometimes there's specific places inside of the VR that you would like for them to go, but it's hard to kind of get them to teleport over to that specific point every single time. So be very nice to be able to maybe hit a keyboard button and it take them directly to that spot so that they can look at, either a problem that's being looked at inside of the experience, so on and so forth. You can make up several scenarios in your head as to what you would use it for. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move in here. Let me zoom into this area right here. And let me get back here to the back. And I want to create a sphere, all right, in this location because there's some specific reason why I want to do that. Maybe it's to see this pipe. Maybe it's to see that pipe so that we can turn the ground transparent. They can see the pipe underneath. We covered that in one of the last parts of this series, how to create transparent surface materials so that you can squeeze a trigger and it make things transparent. But maybe we want them to stand in this specific location. Well, we can actually control that. So what we would do is we would go up to create and drop down to primitives, and you've got all these different types of primitives that you can bring in. I just want to bring in a sphere, right? And I'm going to stick that sphere right here. Right now, listen, just press your left click button on your mouse one time to place that sphere. If you hit it twice or double click, you'll have two spheres and you'll have to delete one of them. Now, with it highlighted like this, we can go directly into level flow. All right, and we're going to create a new level flow. So we'll right click and select create level flow for our sphere. All right, and then we have to tell it how to get to that specific position inside of our model. So we're going to use a get unit world position. All right, that's the unit it's going to pull. Now, when we tie unit to unit, then it knows to go to that spot in our VR, okay? It's looking for this sphere, and this is how it's telling it the position. We have to create what's called, if we go to Steam and drop down to set tracking space, all right? This is a Steam specific level node, all right? And again, we are using the HTC Vive for our hardware. So once we have that particular node in, we can select position and then pick position here in our tracking node. All right, a couple things that we need to set up before we go on to how we're going to access this. We need to pick here for rotation, make sure it's set to 0, 0, 0, all right? And our scale, all right? We need to change our scale. 1, 1, 1 is what we need our scale. So it's 1 space, 1 space, 1 space. Let's do that again. It's 1 space, 1 space, all right? And then 1, the last one there. Hit OK. And then we need to tell it what keyboard button we're going to use, all right? You could map this to the controller also, but I like to use keyboard buttons because then I can just hit the keyboard when I'm helping out with the VR experience. So I'm just going to type in, after I hit tab, keyboard. All right. And I try and correspond these with what I'm trying to look at. So if I go to, I select pressed, whenever I press the keyboard button, that's where I want it to go. All right, so it's going to go and look at my VR room that I've set up, and it's going to go to this particular location when I press the button that I tell it here. So let me tell it the button name. And let's just move to, you could, if you were looking at different floor levels of a building, you could say, you could use 1, 2, 3, 4 for different floor levels. This is the back of the building. I'm just going to put in B for building and hit OK. All right, and again, that doesn't mean it stands for building. It's just that's where I'm looking at the back of the building. So I just used B for my name. All right. So once that's done, one thing you need to know, if you test the level, you're not going to be able to move. So you want to just go ahead and deploy your VR, and that will allow you to go ahead and open it up with the Vive hardware, and then you can test it there. So the way we would deploy it is just set our path here for destination. Our deployment type, I'm just going to leave it deployment or development, and we give it a name, and we would hit package project for Windows. All right, so let's go ahead and jump over to our VR and look and see what happens whenever we utilize this function. All right, so I've got my VR experience opened on my VR machine. I'm going to go ahead and pick the goggles up, get them in position here. And you can see that I've spawned to my normal location. You can see that from the last part or the last episode, if I hit my menu button, I can see existing conditions, so on and so forth. Well, now I want to zoom to that sphere just like what we had built. So I'm going to select my B button on my keyboard, and it takes me directly to that location, and you can see the sphere inside of the model. So why would I want to be here? Well, I'm wanting to show something that's specific inside of the model. If I wanted to see the utilities, then I could just make my ground transparent. I could see the utilities, so on and so forth. Maybe I've got utilities clashing there, and that's why I wanted to zoom to this particular location. So we could create multiple areas and locations, as many as you like actually, that actually go out and take you to those specific locations once you assign them to a keyboard button, or you could assign them to a particular function on one of the controllers for the HTC Vive. So that's it for part 6. Just remember that you can create as many of those spheres or locations as you'd like inside of your VR experience and take people to the exact location that you'd like for them to see. I thank you guys for watching today and hope you have a great day.